All right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into this fascinating interview with Luke Belmar.
Oh, yeah. I was really excited to dig into this one.
Yeah, he's got a lot of interesting insights, and I think this will be really valuable for our listeners who are, interested in entrepreneurship and building wealth.
Yeah, definitely. He doesn't hold back either.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
No, he definitely doesn't. He's got some strong opinions, but I think he backs them up pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. So just to give everyone some context.
Yep.
Belmar has built 19 companies.
Yeah.
And invested in 78 startups.
So he's been in the trenches, you know?
He knows his stuff.
He knows what he's talking about. And this interview is with Simon Squibb,
right,
who also has a ton of experience in this world. So it's like, a masterclass in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's a really dynamic conversation.
Yeah, and one of the things that really jumped out at me was this idea of the trifecta of money.
Oh, yeah, that was fascinating.
It's not like a get-rich-quick scheme or anything.
Right.
It's more like a framework for thinking about how to create lasting wealth.
And it applies whether you're in a traditional job or starting your own business.
Exactly. So the first element of the trifecta is high demand.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
You need to be doing something that the world actually wants or needs.
Right. If there's no demand, you're going to have a really hard time making money.
It's like trying to sell ice to Eskimos.
Exactly. So you got to find that sweet spot where your skills and passions align with a real need in the market.
Makes sense.
The second element is be the best.
Okay, so not just good, but the best.
Yeah, you have to strive for excellence in whatever you do.
That's where standing out from the crowd comes in.
Yeah, you got to be exceptional if you want to command premium prices or attract the best clients.
It's about honing your skills and continually improving.
And this is something that Belmar really emphasizes, you know?
Yeah.
He's all about pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself.
But he doesn't just stop at skills, does he?
No, not at all. The third part of the trifecta is being irreplaceable.
Okay, I like that. So it's about becoming so valuable that people can't imagine doing business without you.
Right, and he uses this really interesting example. He asks, why would you choose to work at McDonald's? A job anyone can be trained to do over developing a skill that's in high demand and requires specialized knowledge.
Yeah, I see his point. It's about thinking strategically and choosing a path where you can develop expertise that makes you uniquely valuable.
Exactly. And he also emphasizes the importance of both technical skills and what he calls fixed skills.
Oh, that's interesting. What's the distinction there?
So technical skills are specific to a job, like coding or accounting.
Right.
But fixed skills are those character traits that are valuable no matter what you do. Things like showing up on time, being reliable, having a positive attitude.
Oh, I see. So it's like he's saying your character is as important as your technical abilities when it comes to building lasting success.
Absolutely. And I think that ties into his point about the importance of co-founders.
Especially when starting a business.
Yeah, he suggests finding people who excel in areas where you might be weaker.
Right. So you can create a well-rounded team.
Exactly, because none of us can be experts at everything.
That's so true. It's about recognizing your strengths and weaknesses and finding people who complement you.
Yeah, and this reminds me of something Simon Squibb brought up in the interview.
Oh, what's that?
He mentioned that the iPhone isn't always the most technologically advanced phone on the market.
Interesting.
But people still flock to it
Yeah.
because of its reputation and brand experience.
That's a great point. It shows that reputation isn't just about being good. It's about building trust and a perception of quality.
Yeah, and Belmore really hammers home that your reputation needs to be rock solid, almost unassailable, as he puts it.
So how do we do that?
Well, he talks about consistently delivering value exceeding expectations and building strong relationships with clients and colleagues.
That's an ongoing process.
Yeah, it's not something you can just achieve overnight. It takes time and effort.
But it's clearly worth it.
Oh, absolutely. But even with all this, Belmar says there's something else we need to be wary of.
Well, what's that?
Small L's.
Small L's.
Yeah, those little losses that we tend to brush off in the moment.
Oh, I know exactly what he's talking about.
But can really hold us back in the long run.
Like overspending on things we don't need or those unhealthy habits that drain our energy.
Exactly. He gives some really relatable examples.
Like what?
That extra bag of chips, or that impulse purchase you regret later.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
We all have, and his advice is to make it difficult to lose.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, it could mean designing your environment to avoid temptation.
Okay.
Like unsubscribing from those tempting email lists.
Yeah.
Or removing junk food from the house if you're prone to late-night snacking.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's about being proactive and recognizing your weaknesses.
Yeah, and Belmar's personal story really speaks to this. He talks about being homeless at 15.
Wow.
But refusing to let that define him.
That's powerful.
He says once you get to that point of self-infliction, you understand that you're self-inflicting both negative and positive, so you're fully in control of everything.
It's about taking ownership of your choices and not letting setbacks derail you.
And it connects to his point about unwavering commitment.
He's not a fan of excuses, is he?
No, he's big on self-awareness, but also self-grace.
How does he tie those together?
He says self-sabotage often comes from fearing failure and not giving ourselves a break when we make mistakes.
Yeah, that makes sense. We can be our own worst critics sometimes.
For sure. And then Belmar throws in this curveball talking about a study called the Spain experiment.
Oh, this is where things get a little mind-bending.
Right. So researchers were measuring the vibrational frequencies associated with different emotions. They put people in a Faraday cage, prompted them with various thoughts and feelings, and guess what they found?
Wow.
Authenticity had a higher vibrational frequency than even love.
Wow, that's fascinating.
I know, right?
So what does Belmar do with that information? How does that relate back to wealth creation?
Well, he links it to the importance of aligning your actions with your true desires and values.
Oh, okay. So if you're not being authentic, if you're chasing things that don't truly resonate with you, you're essentially operating at a lower frequency.
Yeah, and that can impact your success.
It's like he's saying you need to be true to yourself to reach your full potential.
Exactly. And that leads us perfectly into Belmar's thoughts on purpose.
Yes, purpose.
He's a big believer that purpose fuels long-term success.
But what's interesting is his definition of purpose.
Right. It doesn't have to be some grand world-changing mission.
So what kind of examples does he give?
Well, he talks about finding purpose in being the most reliable person for your customers in a specific niche.
Okay, that's something a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, he wants us to find that thing that gets us excited to work every day, whether it's solving problems for a specific customer group or creating a product that fills a real need.
It's about finding that intersection between what you're good at, what you enjoy, and what the world needs.
Exactly, and he ties this purpose to escaping what he calls the hamster wheel.
Ah, yes, the hamster wheel, that feeling of being stuck in a routine that's comfortable but not fulfilling.
Yeah, like you're working hard but not really getting anywhere meaningful.
And Belmar's pretty blunt about it. He says you have to get off of the fucking hamster wheel in order to move.
I know, right? He doesn't sugarcoat things.
But he's not suggesting we just jump ship without a plan, right?
No, not at all. He actually advises having a monkey bar in place.
A monkey bar.
Yeah, he uses it as an analogy for a side hustle or a client that provides some income before you quit your current job.
Oh, okay. So it's like having a safety net while you build towards something bigger.
Exactly. It mitigates the risk and allows you to transition more smoothly.
That's smart.
And he really emphasizes the importance of financial literacy in all this.
Yeah, that's crucial.
He says, if you want to make £1 million, you're never going to make it on an hourly salary.
He's challenging the traditional employment model and encouraging us to think about creating our own income streams.
Right, and he dives into some interesting strategies for doing that online.
Like what?
Well, he talks about organic versus paid traffic.
Right, so organic traffic is like riding the wave of trends and algorithms to get your content seen without paying for ads.
Exactly, and he talks about how TikTok has disrupted the paid advertising landscape with its powerful algorithm, allowing people to reach huge audiences without spending a dime.
That's where he uses those clippers.
Yeah, the clippers.
But I have to admit, I'm a little fuzzy on what exactly a clipper is.
He's referring to people who take his longer form content and repurpose it into short, engaging videos for platforms like TikTok and YouTube Shorts.
Oh, okay, so they're like content remixers.
Yeah, exactly. And he's built a whole system for maximizing distribution and reaching millions of viewers.
Wow, that's impressive.
He mentioned something called CPM, which stands for cost per 1,000 views, and he says his is currently 2 cents.
2 cents.
Yeah, basically for every 1,000 views, he earns 2 cents. It might not sound like a lot, but when you're getting millions of views, well, you do the math.
That adds up quickly.
It does, and it just shows how leveraging these platforms can really pay off.
But he also emphasizes that the content itself needs to be high quality, right?
Absolutely. He says the lifespan of content is longer now, so investing in quality production is worthwhile.
So it's not just about churning out as much content as possible.
No, it's about creating content that's valuable, engaging, and will stand the test of time.
And he even suggests using AI tools like ChatGPT to help streamline content creation.
Yeah, he gives an example of asking ChatGPT for different hooks for his videos, or even drafting entire scripts.
It's fascinating to see how he's embracing technology to work smarter, not harder.
But he also stresses that even with AI assistance, you still need a clear vision and a compelling message to connect with your audience.
It all circles back to authenticity and purpose.
Exactly.
He's really tying all these pieces together. It's not just about tactics. It's about building a solid foundation of mindset, purpose, and skills to create lasting wealth and fulfillment.
I agree, and I think that's what makes his insight so valuable.
So we covered a lot of ground with Belmar already, like that trifecta of money, the importance of reputation and avoiding those small L's, and tapping into authenticity.
Yeah, and he doesn't stop there. He keeps pushing us to think bigger.
Right, he challenges us to define our definite purpose.
And he's not talking about some vague idea of what we want to do.
Yeah?
He gets really specific. He asks, can most people tell you within 10 seconds in a paragraph where they're going?
It's a tough question, honestly.
It is, and I think a lot of people would struggle to answer that clearly.
Probably because they haven't really thought about it deeply enough.
Yeah, and that lack of clarity can keep people feeling stuck even if they're busy working.
It's like they're on a treadmill going nowhere.
He actually uses the analogy of a ship without a rudder. You might be moving,
Yeah.
but are you heading in the right direction?
That's a good analogy. It's about having that clear sense of purpose to guide your actions.
Exactly, and Belmar wants us to be like that ship's captain who can chart a course with certainty.
So it's about having that confidence in your goals and your ability to achieve them.
And he's not just talking about setting goals and reaching them once you know.
Right.
He talks about the nature of achievement and how it's an ongoing process.
How so?
Well, he says once you've arrived at your destination, now, by definition, you're once again an unsuccessful person.
Oh, that's interesting because now you have to find another port of destination.
Exactly. It's like success isn't a finish line. It's an ongoing journey of setting and achieving new goals.
I like that perspective. It keeps you motivated and prevents you from becoming complacent.
And he's definitely not sugarcoating the entrepreneurial journey either.
Oh no, he's very upfront about the challenges.
He says when people sign up for entrepreneurship, they don't realize that they're signing up for 95% hardship.
Wow, 95%, that's a lot.
It is, but I think what makes his perspective so compelling is that he's not just talking about the struggles.
Right. He's talking about the rewards that come from overcoming them.
Exactly, and he balances that tough love with this idea of longevity being the real key to business and making money.
So it's about playing the long game.
Yeah, and that's where having a clearly defined purpose becomes crucial. It's what fuels your drive when things get tough.
It gives you that resilience to keep going when you face setbacks.
And he brings in this idea of feedback as a way to refine your purpose.
Okay, how so?
He says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So what's the feedback telling you about what you're doing?
Oh, I see. It's about being responsive to the results you're getting and adjusting your approach as needed.
Exactly. It's a continuous learning process.
And it requires a certain level of humility,
Yeah.
being willing to admit when something isn't working and make changes.
He even talks about the importance of getting comfortable with discomfort.
Oh, that's a good one. We all want to be comfortable, but sometimes you have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone to grow.
Right, and he gives these examples. If I want to go to the gym, I'm going to feel weak before I get strong. If I go to business class, I'm going to feel stupid before I'm smart. If I go hang out with wealthy people, I'll feel broke before I'm rich.
I like that it's about embracing the challenges that lead to growth.
Yeah, and it's almost like those small L's we talked about earlier.
How so?
Well, sometimes those small losses are the result of staying too comfortable, too afraid to step outside of our comfort zones.
I see your point. It's about being willing to take risks and face those fears.
And he challenges us to make it so easy to win that it becomes difficult to lose.
I like that, but he also acknowledges that sometimes we need to make things harder for ourselves to achieve our goals.
Yeah, it's a bit of a paradox, but I think it speaks to the balance of setting ourselves up for success while also being willing to embrace the hard work and discipline required to get there.
He also touches on the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people.
Oh, yeah, your tribe, your support system.
Exactly. He says once you break out of your current situation, the people that are around you that are still on a hamster wheel, they're going to think you're nuts.
It's true, and it can be really tough when the people you're closest to don't understand your ambition.
Yeah, but having that support from people who get it, can make all the difference.
And it circles back to that idea of reputation.
How so?
Well, Belmar emphasizes how valuable your connections are. He says in the future, what's going to matter is who knows you and who likes you.
It's not just what you know, but who you know.
Exactly. And he dives into some really specific strategies for building online businesses, too.
Like what?
Well, he talks about the importance of having a strong online presence, even if it's just a simple website with customer reviews.
Okay, so first impressions matter.
Big time. He uses the example of a website with broken links.
Oh yeah, that's not a good look.
It gives the impression of a poorly managed business.
Right, and that can really damage your credibility.
He also shares some interesting tactics for generating traffic and attracting customers online.
Like what?
Well, he talks about leveraging organic traffic by tapping into trends and social media algorithms.
So it's about being in the right place at the right time.
And he highlights the power of distribution marketing, which involves getting your content out there on multiple platforms to reach a wider audience.
He's all about maximizing your reach.
Exactly. And he gives examples of how he's used this approach to get millions of views on TikTok and YouTube Shorts.
It's impressive how he's built this system for content creation and distribution.
He even breaks down how he's built a team of clippers who help him repurpose and distribute his content across thousands of accounts.
Thousands of accounts.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
And he's not afraid to embrace new technology either.
No, he's all about using the best tools available.
He talks about using AI tools like ChatGPT to streamline content creation.
Yeah, it's amazing how these tools can free up your time for more strategic tasks.
But even with all these tools and strategies, Belmar emphasizes that the most important factor is still mindset.
It always comes back to mindset.
He says most people's issue is their ability to break out of the hamster wheel, thinking that the moment they jump off the hamster wheel that they're going to fail, that they're in debt, that they're moving backwards.
It's that fear of the unknown that holds people back.
Yeah, and he's really addressing those fears head on and challenging us to trust in our ability to create something better.
He gives some really concrete advice for getting off the hamster wheel.
Oh, like what?
He says, number one, get your costs down. Number two, side money and income stream. Could be those videos I just mentioned with in-video. Doesn't matter. Something that's going to give you replaces your current thing, unlimited upside.
So it's about creating financial stability and diversifying your income streams.
Exactly. He's advocating for building a safety net before making any big leaps.
That's a smart approach. It reduces the risk.
And he's really passionate about the importance of financial literacy.
Yeah, that's something that's often overlooked.
He says financial literacy is also not taught in school, which is absolutely ridiculous. But I think when people understand if you want to make £1 million, you're never going to make it on an hourly salary. It's never going to happen.
He's making a strong case for taking control of your financial future and exploring alternative paths to building wealth.
And he doesn't shy away from the fact that the people around you might not understand or support your choices.
Right. They might think you're crazy for wanting something more.
He prepares you for the pushback you might get from those who are content with the status quo.
Yeah, it can be tough to go against the grain.
He says once you get off the hamster wheel, you need to understand why most people will never get off the hamster wheel and why you don't want other people to get off the hamster wheel in a certain perspective. One is most people are comfortable in their current zone. So once you break out of your current situation, the people that are around you that are still on a hamster wheel, they're going to think you're nuts. They're going to think you're crazy. They're like, why the fuck are you running? Why are you not being productive on the hamster wheel?
It's like you're speaking a different language.
Yeah, and it can be isolating.
But he's saying you have to be prepared to go against the grain and stay true to your vision, even when others doubt you.
Exactly. And he brings it all back to that core idea of definite purpose.
That phrase again.
You have to have what definiteness of purpose you need to have definiteness of purpose. Be definite of purpose.
He really hammers that point home.
It's about knowing your why, having a clear vision of what you want to create, and letting that purpose guide your actions.
It's what gives you the resilience to push through the challenges and stay committed to your goals.
And he leaves us with a powerful reminder. Find definite purpose, defined purpose. That purpose needs to be attributed to something that has longevity, that gives you the ability to run long.
It's about thinking beyond short-term gains and focusing on building something that will have a lasting impact.
He's really challenging us to step up and create a life that's aligned with our values and aspirations. Welcome back. So I'm curious, what are your biggest takeaways from Luke Belmar so far?
Well, it's a lot to process.
Yeah.
But for me, I think it's that blend of practical advice and that mindset focus.
Yeah.
He's not just saying, do this, do that.
Yeah.
He's really digging into those beliefs and habits, that actually make people successful.
It's that foundation you got to have.
Exactly. And, he wraps up the interview with this sailing analogy that I think kind of brings it all together.
Oh, yeah, the island.
Yeah, he's talking about, sailing to this far-off island and how, the people who already live there aren't going to be that interested in your story about how you got there.
Because they're already there.
Right. It's not about the destination. It's the journey.
The journey, yeah.
All those challenges and risks and, the resilience you had to build along the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's what really matters.
And Belmar really wants us to, embrace that whole journey, even the tough parts.
Yeah, he even says, don't you want stories? Don't you want legacy? I want to tell my son, the thing, I went to Hong Kong when I had no money. I did this, I did that. I don't want to tell him I just grew up in my hometown and died in my hometown, right?
It's about living a life, that's worth talking about.
It's exactly one that's full of, purpose and adventure.
And that's what this whole deep dive has been about, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about making money. It's about, figuring out what makes you tick, what gets you excited to wake up in the morning.
Finding your why.
Yeah. And Belmar, he challenges us to define our own definite purpose.
Yeah, definite purpose.
And then actually, build a life that supports that purpose.
He gives us that framework to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, it's up to us to, figure out what that looks like in our own lives.
And he reminds us it's not going to be easy. There'll be challenges and setbacks and maybe even people telling you you're crazy for wanting something more.
It's that crab mentality,
Yeah, but that's where that definite purpose comes in. It's like the fuel that keeps you going,
It's that driving force.
Yeah, and it connects back to those monkey bars he talked about,
Yeah, the safety net.
Having a plan, before you make any big leaps.
So you're not just jumping into the void.
Right, and Belmar, he's given us a lot of tools to think about.
He has.
Building those valuable skills, creating those multiple income streams, using those online platforms, surrounding ourselves with the right people.
Yeah. He's given us a lot to work with.
But it all starts with that internal shift.
Yeah, that commitment to defining our purpose and then actually taking action.
Because you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't take action, it's meaningless.
It's like having a Ferrari and leaving it in the garage. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to ask you, what's one thing you're going to take away from Belmar's insights?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's about revisiting my goals,
Yeah.
and making sure they're really aligned with what I want to achieve. Really taking some time to reflect on my why.
I love that, yeah.
And making sure my actions are actually supporting that bigger vision.
That's awesome. And for me, I think I'm going to focus on building up my monkey bars.
Yeah. I have this side project I've been putting off, and I think it's time to give it some serious attention.
It's always good to have those side projects cooking. You never know where they might lead.
Exactly. And Belmar reminds us, building wealth and a fulfilling life takes effort, but it's possible if we're willing to do the work.
And to enjoy the process.
Right? Oh, for sure.
It's not just about the destination. It's about the journey, the lessons we learn, the experiences we have, the people we connect with along the way.
Absolutely well said. And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
That was a good one.
It was Luke Belmar is a wealth of knowledge, and I hope, our listeners got as much out of this as we did.
Yeah, I think there's something here for everyone, whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or just looking to level up your life.
So go out there, take some risks, build those monkey bars, and create a life that's worthy of a standing ovation.
And remember, definite purpose.
Definite purpose.